Hey everyone! It's your favorite Reddit channel here, and today we're diving into some of the wildest confessions from our /confessions. From cringeworthy to jaw-dropping. These stories are guaranteed to make you laugh, cringe, and maybe even feel better about your own secrets. So grab a snack, hit that subscribe button, and let's get into it.
I've been manipulated by my wife for 20 plus years, and honestly, I'm not even mad. Look, I've always thought I was a man of free will, a strong, independent thinker, a guy who made his own choices. But after nearly 30 years of marriage, I've had to come to terms with a harsh truth. My wife has been manipulating me, and she's been doing it in the most devious, underhanded way possible, by sleeping with me. Here's how it works. I wake up on a Saturday morning, exhausted from a week of work. My plan? The same as any hardworking man's. To stay in bed, watch some TV, and preserve my energy like the efficient, forward-thinking individual I am. But then, out of nowhere, my wife initiates intimacy. And like a fool, I fall for it every single time. The next thing I know, I'm in the shower, feeling refreshed, and suddenly I am the one suggesting we go hiking, shopping, or, God help me, spending hours at a farmer's market looking at artisanal honey. It's as if my own desires have been overridden, my body hijacked into productivity. And the worst part? It took me decades to realize it. I always thought I was just a naturally good husband, willing to participate in family outings, errands, and social events. But no, I was merely a pawn in my wife's grand scheme. A scheme where she gets both a functional, engaged partner and a satisfying sex life. The betrayal is staggering. But here's the thing, I don't actually mind. In fact, if this is manipulation, I wish all my problems in life could be solved this way. Want me to finally organize the garage? Want me to call the plumber? Want me to learn how to assemble IKEA furniture correctly instead of creatively? I am very open to negotiations. So yes, my wife has been pulling the strings all these years. And you know what? I hope she never stops.
I recently found out that my father is responsible for the death of at least one woman. I believe there is potentially another. And I have nobody to tell. Sorry for the long post. I felt it necessary to add proper details so it makes sense. My father was and will likely continue to be an over-the-road truck driver. When I was around 10 to 12 years old, unsure on the exact age, my mother was finally unable to hide his drug addiction from my brother and I, 2 years younger than me. But my older brother, 6 years older than me, definitely knew for much longer. When I was 13, he officially exited my life in a large capacity. I would occasionally receive phone calls as well as extended visits that would lead me to believe that he was going to be back in mine and my younger brother's life. His relationship with my older brother was hostile and cold to say the least, due to the extensive abuse he would dish out. It's very graphic. I would occasionally be hit, had slammed into walls and generally slapped, and my younger brother was never hit. He was constantly bouncing from job to job and in and out of jail. But because he had a valid CDL, he was almost always guaranteed a job at any shady, low-budget trucking company. His relationship with my mom was on again, off again. She claimed divorce was against God's teaching. That takes me to March of 2024. I get a phone call from my mom, and she informs my brothers and I that he was arrested on suspicion of murder. In another state, a woman's body was found under a pile of wooden pallets behind a truck stop, with her head and spine found in a nearby dumpster. It was quickly proven that she was last seen with my dad. My initial thought was they were both doing drugs together. She OD'd and he panicked while high and disposed of her body. But no identifiable drugs were found in her system, and the coroner determined that her body was ran over by a semi several times. So much so that her body showed signs of being tangled in the front axle. Somehow he was only charged with improper disposal of a body and sentenced to 1 year. My brothers and I ghosted him, and my dad is furious about that. My mom, however, still talks to him even after filing for divorce. Back last March, when all the news was coming out, we all rushed home to provide some company to one another. When my brothers and I were all drinking, I confided a story regarding my father. When I was 7 to 8 years old, he had offered to take me with him on a haul from D.C. to Maryland, down to Richmond and back to D.C. where we lived at the time. I was extremely excited as I had never been in a real truck before. When I got in, something immediately caught my eye. It was a blue dress. I was confused. It was tucked under the mattress that he uses for long hauls, and as I picked it up I noticed it was the blue apron/dress that IHOP waitresses used to wear with the name tag still on it. I was thoroughly confused but had no reason to be alarmed. Remember, I had the deductive reasoning skills of an 8-year-old, and more than anything, I was just happy to be there. As I told the story, my older brother got tense and began to grill me for more specifics, of which I had a few. But he essentially figured that it was the same dress he saw when riding with my dad a month earlier. My dad is a manipulator, abuser, and lifelong addict, and I believe he took the lives of at least 2 women he has never faced the consequences of.
I jerked at the pictures of the Queen the night before she died, and I think it's my fault. Yeah, pretty much I don't know. I've always had bad luck, and because of stuff in my youth I've always had a thing for old ladies, as well as a mommy dom thing which kind of led to me being really into Queen Elizabeth for whatever reason. It's embarrassing, but I still get hard whenever I think of that old dead woman.
I accidentally caused a breakup, and I don't know if I should confess. Okay, so I never meant for this to happen. It all started when my friend, let's call her Sarah, was dating this guy, we'll call him Jake. They had been together for a couple of years and from the outside, everything seemed fine. But one night while we were all hanging out, Jake made a weird comment about how relationships aren't always meant to last. I thought it was odd, but I didn't say anything. A few days later, Sarah and I were talking about relationships in general, and I casually mentioned what Jake had said. I wasn't trying to stir the pot. I honestly just thought it was a weird thing for a boyfriend to say. Well, Sarah didn't take it well. She started overanalyzing their relationship, bringing up little red flags she had ignored, and eventually confronted Jake about it. Apparently, their conversation turned into a huge fight. Long story short, they broke up. Sarah told me later that what I said made her realize Jake wasn't as committed as she thought, and she didn't want to waste more time. The problem? Jake found out I was the one who repeated what he said, and now he blames me for everything. Sarah insists it's not my fault, but I can't shake the feeling that if I had just kept my mouth shut, they'd still be together. So, was I in the wrong? Should I have just kept it to myself? And should I tell Sarah I feel guilty about this or just let it go?
I was the last person to see him alive. I don't know if I'll ever forgive myself for this. Back in college, I had a roommate named Jake. We weren't best friends, but we got along well enough, split groceries, watched the same shows, and occasionally went out for drinks. He was quiet, kept to himself a lot, and sometimes disappeared for a day or two without explanation. One night, I came home late and found him sitting at the kitchen table, staring at a half-empty bottle of whiskey. No TV, no music, just silence. Rough night? I asked, half joking. He looked up at me with this weird, distant expression and said, "You ever just feel done?" I didn't know what to say. I was tired, and honestly, I wasn't in the mood for deep conversations. So I just shrugged and said, "Yeah, man. Everyone has bad days. You'll be all right." Then I went to bed. The next morning, I woke up late. His door was shut, which wasn't unusual. I had a class to get to, so I grabbed my stuff and left without thinking much of it. That night, when I got back, his door was still closed. I knocked. No answer. Something felt off. I pushed the door open. Jake was in his bed. Not breathing. Empty pill bottles on the nightstand. He'd been gone for hours. I told myself over and over that there was nothing I could have done. But I keep replaying that conversation in my head. You ever just feel done? What if I had stayed up with him? What if I had asked more questions? What if I had just taken him seriously? I was the last person to see him alive. And I didn't do a damn thing.
The worst mistake I ever made was telling people that I had won the lottery. I won the lottery about 7 years ago. Between my annuity and profits made from investments, all net, I get shy of $800K a year. I was stunned that I had won. Once I confirmed that I won, I started to tell people. I thought they'd be happy for me. They were happy for me for a minute, and then they started to ask me for money. Friends and family. Then they told people. I was literally getting 10 calls a day from people asking for money. My favorite was the sister of my coworker saying she needed rent money, and a friend asking me to buy them a $20K ring for a girl he had been dating only for a few months, and she was fucking other guys on the side. Some people successfully used me, and I cut them off. I still helped some people, but I had to cut them off because they were asking me for money only to give it to others or using the money for something different. It was very traumatic. I even had a therapist try to rip me off by asking me for a cash tip after our sessions. I was spending more money on people than on myself. It's ironic that I have more money than I need, yet I can't give it away because it brings nothing but problems. People make generosity not worth it. People want me to finance their best lives and have the arrangement be exclusively on their terms. I will never understand why people can't accept one thing without trying to get more. I chalk it up that people in my life had no respect for me.
Wow, what a wild ride that was. Thanks so much for hanging out with me as we dove into those confessions. It's always a mix of hilarious, shocking, and sometimes even a little emotional. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more crazy confessions and other Reddit content. And hey, drop a comment below. I want to know which story shocked you the most. Or if you've got a confession of your own, no judgment, I promise. Feel free to share it. I'll be reading through the comments as always. See you next time.